Here we are in Monaco for the Monaco Grand Prix. Now today we are having the practice 1 and the practice 2. But before we dive into the practice 1 and practice 2, certainly teams are going to bring upgrades that will shape on this track, paint the track in a way that it will look nice. Yeah, nice. So let me give you a quick rundown on upgrades that are brought to Monaco. We have the Scuderia Ferrari bringing new rear wings. This time they are bringing a higher downforce top rear wing and low rear wing design. It's different from what they brought out there in Imola. This is a circuit specific rear wing for drag range. Now we have Alpine still in the face of their rejig. Brought front wings, the front wing flap option with more aggressive cambered profile. It's a circuit specific for balance range. They brought front suspension. That's a new track fairing and support to suit Monaco. Outboard mounting position, which is further rearward. That's the outboard mounting. That's for performance. Is a mechanical setup. They brought rear wings, which is to give them more load. The rear wings main plane suited for track characteristics and high downforce nature. Is a circuit specific for drag range. They also brought beam wing, which is circuit specific. It is in conjunction with the aforementioned top rear wing update, and the beam wing has more load with double element type. They also brought halo. Yes, halo, you heard me right. It's for performance, for flow condition. They had to redesign their halo for a new one. Realignment of the halo vanes on either side of the cockpit behind the halo. This to provide more outwash flow on the out of the cockpit, which aims to improve the flow to the rear wing and rear beam wing. That is for the halo design. To Oracle Red Bull Racing, since the last race, the Red Bull now know that they have a lot of things to do, a lot of upgrades to bring, and a lot of work to do. So Red Bull brought rear wings, which is circuit specific, and enlarged upper rear wing by cord and camber. They also brought beam wings, which is circuit specific, and enlarged beam wing by cord and camber. They also brought front corner, that is the enlarged inlet and exit ducting for the brake cooling. They brought front corner, which is the front top wishbone fairing notch to the steering. That is for reliability, but the others are circuit specific. The front top wishbone is to lock the requirement for the Monaco necessity a small notch in the upper front wishbone fairing. To Williams Racing, they too are having their problems. They've not been competitive for the past 3 races. Now they brought rear wings, which is circuit specific. A new high downforce rear wing is available at the event. They brought beam wing, which is circuit specific. A larger front brake duct, scoop exist are available. That's to increase the front brake and caliper cooling if required. That's a circuit specific upgrade also. That's for the Williams. 3 circuit specific upgrade for the Williams. Visa Cash App Red Bull. It's going to be a difficult season with Visa Cash App Red Bull VCAB. Calling that name alone is headache. Now they brought 4 specific upgrades. The front suspension, which is the profile of the suspension member, have been modified and adjusted in incidents. They brought front corner, that the front brake cooling duct has been enlarged. That's circuit specific. The front suspension is a flow condition performance upgrade. Now the rear wing is circuit specific for drag range. That's a camber and incidence of the upper wing profile is increased. Then the beam wing, circuit specific, a 2-element beam wing with high incidence and camber. That's a drag range upgrade also. Now to Mercedes. Mercedes brought 2 circuit specific drag range rear wing to increase camber on the upper rear wing, and the rear wing also to increase camber on the beam wing. This is to increase the camber of the rear wing element, increases the local downforce and drag, and also the elements to track specific and suited to Monaco. Now they brought floor body. They've been trying to improve the floor of the car, which I've said over and over again that Mercedes needs to improve their floor, because that floor is one of the biggest problems they are having. Now that is to increase the floor inboard leading edge volume. That is a local load specific upgrade that will give them a more vortex generating apparatus for that circuit. They brought a new front wing, in which they are going to test differently on the 2 cars, and that is a larger cord, inboard flap, and redistribution of main plane cord. That's a flow conditioning and performance upgrade for Monaco for them. That's to improve the tire weight condition, especially at the front, and reduce the tire wear at the rear. That's for Mercedes. 4 upgrades Take F1 teams. They brought rear wings for flow condition for performance, a single ply-on rear wing. They brought rear wing end plate. That is a circuit specific, drag range specific upgrade. That is to detach tips of the rear wing end plate. Beam wing is also a circuit specific upgrade for drag range. That is a new beam wing design. The front suspension also for the stake team, that is a circuit specific. They redesigned their front suspension covers to generate more flow for aerodynamics. Then the front corner, that's they redesigned their front brake ducts, a circuit specific for cooling range. Now for the MoneyGram As team, we are having 5 upgrades. Reliability, the front suspension, front corner, that's for the brake duct. For front suspension, reliability of the track rod shroud, they modified it. A wider cooling louver aperture is a circuit specific. Take away heat, that's to combat overheating. The rear wings, a more cambered upper rear wing. A beam wing, a more cambered beam wing. Circuit specific generally for the two. Then McLaren, certainly McLaren has upgraded, so I think whatever they are bringing will be circuit specific. A rear wing and beam wing. The rear wing for more loaded rear wing assembly and the beam wing for more loaded beam wing assembly, that is to generate more downforce for the circuit. Aston Martin, circuit specific also because they've brought more upgrades in the Imola Grand Prix and they've not really sorted themselves out. Bringing any upgrade now is just confusing them more. So they brought rear wings and beam wing, aggressive geometry, that's on the two to give them more aggressiveness for the race. Also, McLaren brought upgrades on their car, which is a new livery to honor Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna is having the most wins in Monaco, and that is to honor him. I think that is wonderful of that team to do that. Now to FP1. FP1 was funny, sleek, and interesting. We saw the Mercedes topping the timesheets with Lewis Hamilton in FP1. Now, are Mercedes trying to make sure they get their upgrades right? I can't say for now, but we know what happened in Imola last week. After giving a beautiful performance on Friday in Imola, Mercedes came out on Saturday and gave a shambolic performance, and that ended or put them in a position of desperation for the race. And at the end of the day, during the race, they came in their most favorite position, 6th, 7th. That was what they came with. And you know, Mercedes have been coming between 6th and 9th this season. That's their best position this season. So that's where they still fall into. Will that happen tomorrow and on Sunday? We don't know yet. But they look so fast. They look very, very comfortable. For Oscar Piastri Leclerc, who is trying to find his route in Monaco. Oscar Piastri came second in the second practice, about 200 from Lewis Hamilton in Monaco. Also, George Russell third, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc fifth. The Ferrari looks to be working well and the McLaren, but Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez coming in 11th and 12th. That is the story for the FP1. The Red Bull were nowhere to be found. The same way it happened in Imola. They were struggling with balance, struggling with steering, struggling with aerodynamics, everything. It means something is still wrong with the Red Bull, and we are seeing them really, really under pressure. The drivers are under pressure, and that is what we want. We want a very close race. We want teams to put themselves under pressure. Now, these other teams don't have much to lose. Red Bull has a lot to lose, and in the FP1 you can find them in 11th and 12th for the Red Bull, which looks a little bit oblique. We don't know where they really are, but I can tell you they are far away. In FP1, they are really far away from everybody. They're having about 9/10 to a whole second from Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes that has been struggling from the beginning of the season, and a McLaren that is very close to Red Bull. What is happening to Red Bull? Now, we can remember last year, the Ferrari suffered in so many tracks, but when they came to Monaco, they came with fire and they came to take the pole. Is that the same thing we are seeing with Mercedes this season? We can't say yet, but we can see that the Ferrari here are also working very well. During the week, the Ferrari have been telling us that they are not sure that they work very well on this track, specifically because of the upgrades they've just brought and the way the car works. But it looks very, very cool for them. They are working very well on this track. Now, the race pace, we can really not get the race pace of the teams around here because in FP1, we don't know what load they are running on. But certainly we know some people are running on high fuel runs, trying to do so many things. So we don't know what fuel capacity these guys really are on. But to FP2, Charles Leclerc came up, storming the times to give us a 1 minute 11 seconds and 2/10. That is about a minute away from what Lewis Hamilton gave us in FP1. The Ferrari looks speedy, toppy, exciting, and they top the timesheets with Charles Leclerc that was able to grind himself around the Monaco street, which also is known as his home and he was able to grind around the street, hustle the time out to get such beautiful time, which brings Lewis Hamilton behind him, about 2 tenths behind him. But it shows there's a progression in the Mercedes, because Lewis Hamilton is still able to stay close. What is Mercedes doing on Friday that is giving them the right quality speed they need? But on Saturday and Sunday, they are still not getting. They need to pray about that and look into their own destiny to know if they have a future in 2024 to win any race, because Mercedes are not looking as if they have a future in 2024 to win any race. I'm not saying that. It's not looking like a beautiful picture for anybody to see in Mercedes, because they are really looking like a team that is lost. But here, they look found. Who has found Mercedes? Maybe they found a new gear in the upgrades they've brought. Now, they didn't bring big upgrades to this track, but maybe their car is working well in Monaco. We don't know. Now, Max Verstappen and his Red Bull struggling, clinching, craving all the walls in Monaco, repainting all the walls in Monaco with their tires and rims. That is a very big session for Red Bull, in which they were nowhere. Though they came fourth, but they were about 6 tenths away from Charles Leclerc, while Perez was still about 9 tenths away from the top. Something is still wrong. Well, that was the same thing that happened last week in Imola, and on Saturday during the qualifying, they came up storming the timesheet and clinching the pole position. We will see the same thing this weekend. For me, I think I'm not sure, but I know the teams now are telling us, especially Red Bull, they are the ones shouting in the media now that they have a driver in Milton Keys trying to scamper out time to know where they need to find time. We know Mercedes have always done that for over 2 years. That's how weak Mercedes are. But now the Red Bull are trying to do that because they need to find time to really get out time from that car to make sure they don't lose position. But will they be able to get that time tomorrow? We don't know. Will Mercedes continue to show a good pace tomorrow? We don't know. Will Ferrari still top the FP3 and qualifying tomorrow? Well, that is to be said during the qualifying tomorrow and FP3, in which we know in FP3 tomorrow we will not be able to see a lot of teams showing their hand. But up until tomorrow, FP3 and qualifying, I cannot tell you who will win that race, because Monaco is a place in which the first 3 on the grid has the chance of winning, majorly the first person. But last year has shown us that the first person possibly may not win. Charles Leclerc, maybe he will be able to break the course if he comes in pole tomorrow. He has never had a good race in Monaco, which is his home. He's not come on podium around Monaco at all. Maybe tomorrow will be a great day for him if he can break that jinx or that curse on himself. But I hope to see a very good qualifying tomorrow and a very good race on Sunday. Up until tomorrow, FP3 qualifying. I love you guys. Thank you. Bye. Chi. Yeah.